As rising interest rates, the cost of living pressures and inflation continues to bite into the pockets of everyday Australians, what sort of an impact is this having on our small businesses? Well, joining me live is Ingrid Maynard, founder of The Sales Doctor. Ingrid, thank you so much for joining us. Well, as you well know, small businesses make up about 97.5% of our businesses in Australia. A lot of them hurting now, and it's not the end.
No, unfortunately, it isn't the end, Janie, and thank you for having me. There's a lot of pressures on small business, and just recently on Tuesday, there were a number of Australian business and consumer confidence surveys conducted, and it was definitely showing that business activity is rapidly slowing, and forward orders is one of those leading indicators that sort of suggests that there's lower demand and they're already contracting. So the impact of higher interest rates is definitely working, because that's the intention. But spending confidence is down to near recession levels. It's in the negatives, and there's a risk to growth in the second half of this year. Deloitte even said in April that it's the slowest economy outside of the pandemic since the recession of the early 1990s, and it's predicting growth, I would say, maybe optimistically in the 1.2, 1.3% for the rest of this year and next year.
And when we look at so many factors, electricity prices increasing, fuel, food, wages as well, it's really affecting all the small businesses.
Well, absolutely. So when you think about the people that work for small businesses, they're the consumers that we're talking about here that are being heavily impacted. And, cost of living pressures are causing them to go to their employers and ask for more money. Now, some employers will be able to afford those higher wages and keep those precious staff that are so required, because there's a skills shortage, of course, so they need to keep the talent that they can to be productive. However, some small businesses simply cannot. And so they're seeing their very valuable workforce going to other employers that can afford it for now. So they're faced with higher cost of doing business. I think that the pressures, again, on business haven't been seen like this since the recession of the early 1990s as well. So that's going to continue. The impact of that on small businesses means that they've got to make some different decisions. It's delaying decision at the moment, because I think a lot of small businesses are waiting to see what will happen. The RBA has said that it's going to have another maybe 1-2 interest rate hikes again this year. So, that will definitely impact. And as people come off their previous low fixed interest mortgage rates and go on to new higher ones, that will then determine their economic forecast for households and then for small businesses. And the jobless rate is, set to go up. They're sort of saying 5%. Jobless rate, which is, again, one of the highest we've seen in a number of years. So for small businesses, they've got to make decisions. Can we actually afford to pay our people more to keep them and to keep things going over, or do we now have to do that ourselves, which is creating a lot more pressure on those already stressed out small business owners who, have pretty much everything riding on it, bearing in mind that many small business owners are funding their businesses through their own, household mortgages as well.
So you mentioned the financial factors. What could people do on a practical level?
Yeah, look, when economic conditions get tough, it really brings out the real bench strength of the revenue generation of any business. So the first thing from a practical level I would always be suggesting is, regardless of where interest rates are, lock in fixed rates for all funding, including lines of credit. Second thing is to really focus on culture. You might not be able to compete on wages, but you might be able to offer better quality of life, more flexibility, and a fantastic place to work. And more people will be attracted to you and are more likely to stay if they love coming to work every day. The third thing is back to sales, listening to our customers, to solve the real need. If all we've got is selling on product or price, we're going to be in trouble. Those days are well gone. And so we need to have a better skill set there. And we need to demonstrate that we understand the impact that they have, that, every decision now is under the microscope for our customers. So I'm talking about B2B customers here for small businesses as well as consumers. And so we need to partner with them to demonstrate how our product or service is actually going to either mitigate the risks that they perceive are going to be there, solve their challenges, or enable them to achieve what they need to achieve. And unless we demonstrate that real value, we put ourselves at risk. And I don't want to see that for any of those magnificent small business owners.
And how is the spending confidence, and what are we seeing overseas? What are we learning from other countries?
Yeah, well, it's all flowing. So the US is probably one of those economies that is already seeing low consumer confidence at the moment. And we're seeing the flow-on effects here too. And the thing that we can't ever forget is that everyone's connected. I mean, when we think about where our supply chains are sourced from, we're all operating in a global economy. So where things happen in one economy means that it's going to eventually happen in all economies, and that includes Australia. So regardless of where we're placed, where we live, I mean, there are some states that, again, that Deloitte is sort of picking up that, if they've got mining, the mining sector is going to buoy some economies. I mean, they're sort of saying, Queensland and WA are going to be less hit than other states, but Sydney and Melbourne certainly are going to feel it. And I would probably argue are already feeling it.
Ingrid Maynard, always great to see you, founder of The Sales Doctor. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.